to Ambar. Actually, I'm here with my co-host.
Steven, thank you for having me back yet again. I mean, kind of can't get rid of me. Like, I'm supposed to be here every week. Thank you, as always.
Love that for me.
I love that for me too.
Cool, cool. So this week we are talking about the friend zone. Is it a myth or is it reality? People say friend zone like it's punishment instead of a boundary. The chaos of social media framing friendship as a consideration prize. Or consolation prize, not consideration prize. And attraction isn't old just because someone is kind or consistent. How do you feel about those gems that I just put out there?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a myth. I mean, everybody at some point has been friend zoned in one way or another. If you haven't experienced that, then kind of I don't know what kind of life you live. Everybody's been friend zoned at some points. I think all of those things is a bit accurate. It's a natural part of life.
Right. It's a part of, I guess, the rejection process, you know? How would you
I
feel?
mean,
Is it
yes.
it's a rejection when somebody puts you in the friend zone? Or, I mean, depends,
I
right?
mean, yes. I think in general, not to make this too deep, but the idea of like rejection is kind of looked at as a negative, which it kind of is, but everything is about perspective. So you can also look at it as like alignment. Like you thought this was the route you were supposed to take. Obviously, this person doesn't see the same thing. Now you can go a different route and like align with someone who actually wants the same things that you want. So yeah, I guess it is rejection, but it's all based on how you take it.
Rejection is funny because, like you said, I agree where rejection is God's protection, or the universe, or just, obviously your future self viewing your present self and I guess making a decision on whether to stay platonic or to romanticize the dynamic. Not everything needs to be romanticized.
I will say, and I don't know if this goes across the board, but I will say the women that I know cannot deal with rejection. Like they absolutely hate it. Like I previous partners or even women friends, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I never approach a man. I never say X, Y, and Z. I never do anything." Be like, "Yo, why? What happened?" It'd be like the one time I did, I got rejected, and they just never participate ever again. Yet so many men get rejected all the time and kind of just, that's the name of the game. Like even a therapist will tell you, like you kind of, well, some therapists will like tell you, like, hey, you got to, you know, throw as many shots as possible to however many people, and you're not going to, every shot doesn't go in. So it's interesting when I have like women friends who be like, yeah, I don't like rejection. I don't like how it makes me feel, and I just refuse to even approach or signal or do anything of that kind because rejection is not something that they like. And it's like, it is what it is, It is what it is.
I feel like I'm the opposite. I feel like I shoot my shot a lot. Or like I'll see that there's chemistry and I'll definitely, make a pass or I'll flirt or if the person is taking a little too long to make a move, I'll be like, "Hey, here's my number. Use it." As far as rejection, I've definitely been rejected. I think last year I kind of took a really hard rejection
I'm sorry
strike
for laughing.
streak.
I'm sorry for laughing, but that was just funny.
It's okay. No, it's fine. I laugh at my pain too.
Well, I have to consider pain. It's just natural flow of life. Everybody
I
can't tell you
mean,
yes. Why it
no,
gotta be
but
painful?
because feelings, for me, it's always a little deeper.
It's taking it too far. But go ahead. Go ahead. Let me not derail you.
But yeah, so like for example, I remember this one time. I think I shared this with you off record. There was somebody that like I had a mutual, like we had on social media, we had each other, and so I was like, I want to shoot my shot. I shot my shot. They were gonna be in New York, and I was like, hey, like you're gonna be in the city, like let's hang out, like let's like link up. Like I was on some like chill friend vibes or whatever, and we planned, and it almost succeeded, but I don't know, something didn't click. Something about phones dying and like being stuck in like the train. I don't know. I feel like too sometimes men aren't honest about how they wanna move too. Like, they'll kinda sugarcoat or they don't know how to properly reject, in my opinion. I feel like when it comes to me and rejection, like, if I reject somebody, I feel like I'm very straightforward, but do I sometimes do stall a little bit when I feel like there's a misalignment because I'm thinking about, like, the perfect way to break it down to this person. Have you ever been in that situation?
Why does there need to be a perfect way? Just say it. If there's you're not feeling it, you're not feeling it.
Right. I gotta get better at that, because there are things that I'm like, "Okay, I should say something about this," but then I'm like, "Oh, I'm overreacting," or I'm in my head, and I'm just
Oh,
like
you're killing
the
me, man. You're killing
delivery.
me. You're killing me, man. But y'all don't want nothing easy in life, man. Y'all don't want nothing easy in life. I would say, I've both been rejected and I've also, I guess, rejected others. And like I said, if you live long enough, you have experiences, those are the things that will happen. And I would operate and I would hope people would operate in a very swift manner when it comes to that. Like, there's no need to bullshit around. Like, we all adults, like, it's not the end of the world. Like, don't have kids together or you're not paying my bills. Like, if you're not
Right.
feeling the situation, then simply just say that, and then we could all just move on and go back to doing whatever it is that we were already doing before we even met. So it really shouldn't be that complicated. Like, I'm not the type of person, no person can ever say that they've ever dealt with me and was like, oh, yeah, like he strung me along for X amount of time before he ended things or whatever. No. Once I have that sentiment or that feeling of like, yeah, this isn't working, probably no more than a week after I remove myself
Mhm.
from said situation. Because, like, what's the point? Like, why am I entertaining somebody that I don't want to be entertained by? And that's another thing. I don't like dealing with people. This is gonna sound crazy. I don't like dealing with people I don't want to deal with. So if I reach a point where
Mm,
it's like I don't want to engage with you in that sort of way anymore, then it's like I'm just gonna cut the cord. Like, I'm not gonna like, oh, I'm gonna be in and out or like entertain you a
mm,
little bit, but then be passive about other stuff. It's like, nah, I don't. Because my energy could be focused on someone else or it could be focused on
mhm.
myself. We focus on a bunch of things. So I'm pretty like straightforward and like to the point when it comes to that. And I don't think I've ever dealt with that with anybody in, that I could think of. But yeah, that's always something I preach early on for like transparency and like openness of like good, better, and different. Just say whatever it is you got to say. So that way we can either move on or, figure out a solution or whatever the case may be. But yeah,
Yeah, I agree because I feel like there have been instances where I kinda, like, convinced myself, like, "Oh, this is a good person, like, this person has checked most of the boxes," but then there are a couple boxes that aren't checked. So it's like, maybe I should continue. You know how I think.
you got it, bro. I got nothing. You got it. You got
And
it,
I mean,
man.
I think that's a lot of women, where we just kind of give
And
people
it's
the
not good.
benefit
It's
of the doubt.
counterproductive. It's like, that's why I keep saying it. Nobody wants peace. Like, shit really be that simple. Granted, I don't know if it was here or maybe my other show, or I think it was here. But like, once emotions get involved, like things could get really misconstrued or whatever. Get it. And maybe I'm speaking from like a position of privilege because one, I'm a man, but then two, like I'm an Aquarius, so that makes me like very logical. Like, I don't normally operate off of emotion. I usually operate off of logic. And so I make a lot of decisions based off of that. But like at the end of the day, my peace means everything to me. So
Mhm,
if it's not aligning with that, like, you gotta go. Or I'm not even gonna say you gotta go. I have to remove myself because I just, yeah, if I'm reached the point where I'm like second guessing things or I have to overthink about something, and like overthinking is natural, but if I'm overly overthinking because of somebody else's actions or somebody's not showing up in the way that they need to show up, it's kind of like, I ain't here for the long talking. I'm not here for the long talking,
mhm.
trying to, whatever. Like, we all grown. Like, yes, we could communicate or whatever, but a lot of times it's like, it's not my job to change you. So I wish you, well, what Shorty from Hunger Games said, may the odds be in your favor.
I was talking to a friend of mine and he's like, "Bro, like he been, was like in my corner, like, what are you doing? Like, you need to stop. You need to," and I'm just like, kind of, and I don't know what that is, but I don't know. But I guess that's my rant for this week.
Because well, 2 things. 1, brutally honest has to, like, stop to a certain extent. Because I definitely used to be like that of, like, being really hard on my women friends, and I remember, I'm trying to remember who it was specifically. I think it was my homegirl Yuchachi, but she was, basically saying, like, "There's no reason for that." Like, there's no reason to be, like, so brutally honest. Like, you could still be honest without necessarily, like, belittling your woman counterpart in that process. So that's one. But then two, the reason why any male friend operates in that way is because men usually because of patriarchy. If a man is not going to do something, he's just not going to do it. Like there's no long talking, there's no back and forth about it. Like a lot of the quote unquote issues that women may have with men when it comes to like commitment or other things, it's like if he don't want to do it, he's not going to do it, but women tend to not be like that. They're always trying to figure out some sort of reason as to how to work it out or letting shit slide. And it's like, and I told you this many times. I've told all my women friends many times. Stop giving grace to people who aren't going to give you that same grace in return. So it's kind of like that's why men tend to be a little bit brutally honest in those situations because if they were faced with that dilemma, they're not budging. They're not changing their mind. They're not, whatever the case may be. So I think
Hmm.
that's usually why those scenarios act like that. Because if a man is unhappy, what does he do? He removes himself, he cheats, he does whatever the fuck he want to do in those scenarios.
Mm,
Versus with a lot of women, it's like, oh no, let me reassess this and let me do this and let me do that. And it's like you're taking on all this work and the issue is the other party. And it's like a lot of
mhm.
times men don't do any of the work, whether the woman's the issue or they're the issue. So it's kind of like that's why that sort of rhetoric or that sort of approach is usually taken.
I had another thought, but it slipped away. How about you? What do you have to rant this week? Anything in particular to the matter or
Um,
anything different?
no, no rants about friends. I would say, I guess it's not necessarily a rant. I guess this is more of an isolated sort of situation. I'm someone who is a fan of, I guess, sociology and psychology. And so, like, I have a lot of conversations with not only like my friends, but even my therapist. Like, a lot of times, our sessions aren't even necessarily about myself, it's about like society as a whole. And so, I would say probably the most interesting thing is probably like the last few months or so. It's like really being able to like identify people and like recognize their traits in a certain way and like how I'm different to said trait, and then that like slowly annoys the fuck out of me, which is
Mhm,
kind of crazy because it's like it's not intentionally like I dislike you, but it's like, "Oh, I noticed this one thing about you and it annoys me because like you a whole full blown adult. Like, why are you still doing this?" But we all have our things to us. Because I remember a friend asked me that before, which that's a whole other conversation. But she asked me, it was like, "Oh, do you think I'm annoying?" And I was like, to be quite honest, I could find everybody annoying because I could recognize so many different traits in so many different people that I would be like, yeah, this is a lot.
mhm.
That's my semi rant of the week.
I get
I, I
that.
was I had a conversation with somebody recently, and I was recognizing some of their behavioral patterns, and these were like behavioral patterns that I've known them to have for like the last 10 plus years, and it's like, bro, if you was to just fix this one thing, your life would be so much easier. But for
Mm,
whatever reason, I don't know, your brain is just wired differently. So yeah, that's just an interesting sort of thing that I've been experiencing.
I get that because I feel like just overall, I get overstimulated sometimes, and frustration is the first emotion when it comes to that. So it's like you're already dealing with what you're dealing with, and then here come other people and their things that you quite necessarily would never, right? And it's like you feel for your friends, but at the same time, you wish that they did better. So I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Still love my friends though.
Of
We're
course.
all
We're not
perfect.
perfect.
We're all perfectly imperfect.
Right. So when friendship and attraction don't line up, um, how the lies of "I'm not attracted, I don't care like that, I can walk away anytime." Are people lying to themselves when they're, like, in this kind of limerence? The moment you realize you're emotionally doing more work than the other person, how men experience being the nice guy. That's another thing too. That's been a lot of talk online where this guy was basically saying what you just said, basically, like men put themselves first. They don't think about anything else. We give too much grace as women and we need to be meaner. And it's like, damn, I don't want to operate in like that frequency. I can be mean, I
Why
gotta
has
step
to
my
be?
mean up.
Why does it as mean?
I don't know. Because you know, no, I do know. Because when you approach the situation with kindness, with softness, with femininity, with care, with intention, it kind of is not received, or I don't know, maybe it's not what they're used to, or they were expecting something in contrast. I don't really know. I don't know what the other person is thinking, but that's what I feel. And I also feel as though a lot of men do prefer a woman who is more kind of like savagey for the most part. Like she has to have a little savage in her. Or another funny, not funny trend is like women who beat men. Men like to get beaten. Or like, not I'm not condoning domestic violence, but like just I guess
The
the
aggressiveness.
aggressive girl.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a level of toxicity when it comes to the idea of like, wanting somebody who's mean or wanting somebody to quote unquote like she's crazy or whatever the case is. So there's definitely a level of toxicity in that. I would say like the idea of like a woman has to be mean to like protect herself. I don't necessarily align with. I think is more so the idea of, you just have a boundary. Like, I don't have to be mean to set a boundary. If I don't want to
Yeah.
engage with somebody, I don't want to engage or want to do the same things you want to do. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't make me a mean person or whatever. I think there's a way to go about it. Like, obviously, you don't have to be disrespectful and, still treat other people like a human being. But I don't know why the idea of like you have to be mean. Like I get the whole like sometimes, well, not a lot of times women try to be, nice and like let somebody know in a kind sort of manner, like, I'm not interested or I'd rather keep this a certain way. And that's not normally. So if you do have to then, be more stern or necessarily call it mean, I'll just be like, yo, you're just putting a boundary because this roles will reverse. A man is not going to consider it mean. He's just be like, yo, I already told you what it is. Like, why are we still talking about it? So I
Hmm.
don't know. I think when we think about the idea of mean, I think when we think about the idea of so many different adjectives, there's so much negative connotation that's put to different things versus like looking at what is the reasoning behind why you're doing said thing. And so a lot of concepts and ideas, you know, uh, are deemed like selfish or whatever the case. But it's like, yes, I have to be selfish. Like I have to protect myself. No one else is going to do this for me. I'm a fully formed, functioning adult in this world. So I'm going to choose me every single time. There will be instances where I put someone else first, but it hopefully won't be to my own detriment. So I think a lot of times there's phrases or words that we use that kind of, you know, are given a negative connotation. And it's like, no, look at the behavior surrounding it versus the actual adjective that's being used.
Also moving on to the topic too, I feel like when, let's say, for example, you do put somebody in a platonic space and they don't want to be your friend afterwards because they have this attraction to you. So they can't separate that because they wanted that to be that. And it can't be that. So it's like, now we can't be friends. I've seen that roll out
One,
from time to time.
men definitely don't experience that. If a man told you he experienced that, he's a liar. Women definitely experience it. And I would say, okay, then good riddance. Like, like you set your boundary, they don't align, then good riddance. and we all know that they're gonna spin the block anyway, so good riddance. I think it's definitely weird, but also you do have this sort of, how do I want to describe it? Interesting ideology of like men needing to show a level of persistence. And you have this idea of like, I told them no so many times, and then they finally said yes. And then whatever happens, sometimes it's fruitful, sometimes it's met. Because there's a bunch of those, like every so often, even though I don't care for celebrity gossip, but every so often we'll have like these celebrities and then like they'll talk about like, oh, when they first met, it was like, yo, I was talking to such and such. Like I kept trying to holler at her for like months. She just kept telling me no. And then she finally said yes. It was like, listen,
That's a red
man,
flag. I will definitely say that, even
I
not being a
refuse.
celebrity.
I refuse to be chasing after somebody for months. And there's a difference between courting and someone is like interested and they're like, they're taking things slow versus no, I do not want to date you. I don't want to go out with you or whatever. We could talk or whatever, but I don't want nothing more recreational, nothing. And then out
Right.
of nowhere, now things have changed. Like I refuse. But I think that's where a lot of that behavior is validated because you have so many situations where a woman tells a guy no for X amount of time. And then maybe she's lonely, maybe she just wants some dick, whatever the case may be. She finally says yes, and then he now has access. And now this is
Mm,
how he's just going to operate with other women. Because if it worked this time, who's to say that it won't work again? And like we all know somebody who's had those experiences. There are children that are here in this world right now because of said experiences. Like these are how some of these things get started. So, but yeah, men don't experience that in terms of like a woman putting a woman in the friend zone and then she's like, keeps on trying and whatever the case may be. And even if it is, because you do see those like weird, I'll say weird ass couples who like, oh yeah, the guy told her no, like Simone Biles. I think her husband, like that was their scenario.
oh,
Like
he said that. Yeah, he did.
well, the whole he's the prize, which that's a whole another podcast with himself. But he's the prize, and that he had told her no X amount of times, and then he finally said yes, or whatever. I find that shit weird
And now they're
because
happily married, right?
I
Allegedly.
mean, more power to them. I don't know these people. Maybe I'm completely wrong. What the fuck do I know? But for me personally, I could just never operate like that. Like if I told you no, there was a reason why I told you no.
Mm,
Not no because like my life needs to be situated a certain way or mentally I wasn't in the space to date or whatever the case is. The no of like, I don't find you attractive. There's nothing about you
mm,
that's stimulating to me. If I tell you no, there's really no way you're going to change that to a yes. Like, I don't care
mhm.
what you offer, cooking, your body. Nah, it's nah. I just can't do it. But, some people operate differently. More power to them.
And that's also like predatory behavior. I feel like, for the most part, a lot of men, they do kind of stick around in the friend zone thinking like, oh, maybe one day I'm going to have the right opportunity. I'm going to keep, building at the connection because, there's going to be a chance, have this chance. And then it's performative niceness with romantic expectations attached.
Yes, I forgot who said it, but I feel like somebody had said like a male friend is basically a vulture in the waiting. Like
Mm,
he's just waiting for you to be vulnerable to try to like take advantage, which is unfortunate because that's like you said, it's predatory. You're essentially waiting for somebody to be in an unideal moment emotionally or whatever, and like trying to take advantage in said situation, which is very sort of weird, predatory. Yeah, just weirdo behavior.
yeah. It's, emotional manipulation disguises loyalty. And, you get those people who are like, I did this for you. So, like we were talking about in the other episode, people feel like the return on the investment is never, or, if it's not fruitful, then they feel some type of way and they want to voice that.
Yeah, all weirdo shit.
Crazy. If you're the only one being nice because you want something that's not friendship, that's a transaction. And they have, they have avenues for stuff like that. You can pay for
Yeah, you can pay for pleasure, but then
Right.
again, that goes to the whole, like, predatory thing of, like, this is someone who didn't align with what you wanted, but you are trying to take advantage or manipulate them into giving them for them to give you something that they normally wouldn't. So it's just weirdo sort of behavior, which is not to, like, make it dark, but, obviously being much younger, being more ignorant when you see certain celebrity news, when people have assault claims, it's like, oh, how could this person get caught up with something like that? They're attractive, they have money, or whatever the case is. But then as you get
Mhm,
older and you start to educate yourself, it's never about, their looks and their money. It's all about taking it from someone who didn't want to give
mhm,
whatever it was in the first place. And so it's more
mhm.
so about the power struggle and the power control versus anything else.
Such a what a crazy, I mean, this goes back to centuries, right? This is an old trick in the book, and here we are, 2025, still hearing stories about it.
That's 2 weeks in a row that you said 2025 and we're in
Oh,
2026.
look at that. I'm still you know what? It's because the new year for me doesn't start until February, so I'm not
Oh,
really too, like,
here
gun
here we
ho
go.
on the New
Here we
Year's
go.
Eve and all that. I'm not, and I feel like I'm so, I don't wanna say jaded, but, like, I'm not like a holiday American holiday type of boy, gal. Like, I like the aesthetic and it's cute, but I'm not like, Santa's real and all that other bullshit. I'm not pretending,
I mean, that's fine.
and
You still have to, like, respect the calendar.
I mean, I respect it because this is the stimulation that I'm in, but at the end of the day, I operate in my own worlds, in my own bubble. So, you know, that's just how I live my life. I
Listen,
follow my
look,
own
you ain't
I
gotta let
follow the
you
calendar
ain't gotta
because
listen to
I have
me.
a
You ain't
I
gotta
follow
listen to
the
me.
calendar because obviously I have a job that abides by that, but, I
So,
tap out of that as soon as I
you
exit
you ain't
those
got you ain't
doors.
gotta do nothing you don't wanna do. You ain't gotta do nothing you don't wanna do.
So just wrapping up the conversation, no friendship should feel safe, not strategic. Attraction can't be negotiated, and clarity is kinder than comfort.
Look at you with your little bullet points.
Anything to add in wrapping up friendships and is
No, I mean, I think you pretty much covered everything. And I guess I'll partially go on like a rant. I think, for one, at the end of the day, people could believe whatever it is that they want to believe. I do know there's a healthy population on both sides of the sexes who believe that people of opposite sex can't be friends in that regard. And I mean, you could technically consider same sex as well, because I've heard stories about the women trying to recruit their homegirls for activities. But I would just say, like, if you don't believe that, cool. But I guess my message is more towards the men of, like, their inability to have platonic relationships with people of the opposite sex. Like, it is very fruitful to have a woman friend in your life in whatever capacity that may be, whether you find them attractive or not. Like, if you can find somebody attractive and don't want to sleep with them. Like, that should not be an issue. I could
Mhm,
look at somebody and be like, oh, okay, this person's attractive, but I don't want to sleep with them. And that's like regardless of sex, like, or even maybe not regardless of sex, but more so like I could see if a male celebrity was like, "Oh, okay, I understand why a lot of women would find him attractive, like because of his facial structure, how he's built, whatever the case is. Like I could understand the reasoning behind it. But going back to what I was saying, like, yeah, having women friends is quite fruitful. The idea of friendship, well, the idea of people connecting is to spread information. We are people from different backgrounds, different experiences. Sometimes our experiences are shared. We have similar things. Sometimes there's overlap, whatever. And so you should be able to do that regardless of what the sexual orientation is of said person. Like I've worked with people who are part of the LBGT community, like, I have no issue with that. Like, that doesn't bother me. And you learn about their community, there's things they learn about me, and vice versa. And the same goes for, people of the opposite sex. Like, I've had a plethora of women friends in my life, and These are people I've confided in when, I have my own issues with dating and things of that nature, or just getting a better understanding in the world and like how they navigate, how they experience things. Like even, like my therapist, like I was very strategic about like I want my therapist to be a black woman. Feel like yes, there's so many things I can improve on upon as a man, but there are certain things that when it comes to relationship dynamics, I want to learn from a woman because
Right.
that's who I date. Like, granted, I would hope, there's no male psychologist that's, pushing out misogyny in whatever weird way. But even outside of that, like friendships and any sort of relationship dynamic can be very fruitful as long as you respect it and you pour into it accordingly. And just, you just appreciate companionship. Like it don't have to be no some weird vibes. Like it
Right.
could just be something simple of like, yo, we go and have brunch, or we go to a museum, or we go do this random activity and then we go our separate ways. But I think there's this overly freaked out mentality that a lot of people have. And then that's why they can't have just that. It's like, oh yeah, I'll do that, but I need something else with it. And it's like, it really don't have to be like that. Like,
Right.
and if you really want the cheat code, women pay attention to who women are around. So if you're around someone who's could be considered attractive, and then they're like, oh, why is he around her? But then they come to find out, oh, that's not his girl. Then it's like, okay, what is so intriguing about him for her to want to actually be around him in whatever capacity? So it's like, I don't know. Like you just there's so
It's good
many.
juju.
Yeah, it's just good energy. They know all the food spots. They know all the play. If your
Yeah.
homegirl or whoever is attractive, they're usually gonna be around people or places that also have
Mhm.
attractive people. But just like the math is mathing.
It's a no-brainer.
So it's like I've been fortunate enough, like I have, a lot of beautiful friends, and I've been fortunate enough to be around a lot of beautiful people, whether it's platonically, romantically, or whatever the case may be. But that's because I operate accordingly. Of like
Mm.
it's this interesting thing of like, how can I say this? I unintentionally have made a lot of connections, whether it's in real life or even through social media. And it's normally because it's like I treat this person like they're a person. And so because of that, we develop some sort of relationship from that, whether it's strictly online, whether we've hung out in person or whatever the case may be. It's usually, these are usually the people that are also like, you know, being sought after, or mad people's in their DMs or whatever the case may be. And so they're ignoring everybody, but they're not going to ignore me because, come with the proper approach and not being a creep and being respectful. Because we all have similar interests. We all watch the same shit. We probably go to the same places or whatever. So it's like, I know that's a bit long winded. The moral of the story that I'm trying to get at is
Mhm.
don't be a fucking weirdo. You can learn from your friends, and you both can gain from each other, and it doesn't have to be anything physical. And even if it's physical, the most physical could possibly be, or the bare minimum is like humans need 8 hugs a day. That's a friend you could get a hug from. Like,
Right.
why does it have to be anything more than that? But yeah, moral story, don't be a weirdo. Respect your friends. If people want to create boundaries, respect the boundaries. Like, and what makes it worse is, if I'm not mistaken, there are more women in the world than there are men. So if you try to, approach a woman and she's like, nah, I'm good. Why are you tripping? Honestly, because there's
Mhm.
literally hundreds and thousands of women out there. So it's like, let it go, move on.
Yeah, I feel like in my general observation, they like to say that women are more emotional, but it really be the men, low key. Like I
I think
really
both sides are.
I seen a lot of dramatics and just like the news overall with like the reactions. Like you don't hear that women kill a guy because she didn't get his number, or like she didn't rape a guy because he didn't wanna, give her sex, and it's just like, I don't know, like, that's to me, that's a little extreme. I mean, yeah, that's off topic, but, you know, I don't know. That's what I've observed, and I've also noticed too in my experience where I've rejected, I've noticed shifts, and it's like, damn, I thought we were friends. And now we're acting like we can't even be that. So it's like, okay, well, I
Yeah, and y'all
understand.
was never friends in the first
We
place.
was never friends.
And I feel like, honestly, and I could be wrong. Honestly, I think it'd be really clear early on, and y'all just be ignoring shit because they'll make
Yeah.
certain comments, or like, because it's like for me, I don't really make sexual jokes with any of my homegirls, or even if I see a meme that's like sex related. I don't really share that with my homegirls because it's like we don't got that kind of. There's no reason for me to be talking to you like that in any sort of capacity. Um, Now there may be like very specific people that can make that to sort of commentary with, but it's not gonna be like all of my homegirls. Like there's
Yeah.
homegirls that, I may make certain jokes with, and then there's gonna be homegirls that it's like, nah, I gotta talk to you as if like you're family because we don't cross those sort of lines, and vice versa. Like if me and my homegirl don't have that kind of rapport and she was to make like a sexual joke, I'm like, okay, bro, you kind of being weird. Like what
Right.
this is throwing off. So yeah, so it's kind of like, yeah, a lot of times they'll show that early on, like they had no intention of like just being your homeboy. Like they clearly want
Right.
more because they won't have no filter. Because if, and I think this is also something that people have said of like men typically know what they want. If they want to approach you accordingly, like, oh, this is somebody gonna be my girl, they usually operate in the way of like being very clear and very direct of like, I'm going to show you all the reasons why I want you to be my girl. If somebody's a little, he 1 foot in, 1 foot out, they usually showcase that. They usually
Yeah.
showcase that they're not that committed. But when it's like, okay, you're supposed to be my friend, there's certain things you say or do is kind of like, mm, mm. Like, why are you telling your homegirl she could sleep over? Or why are you like texting your homegirl at like 1 o'clock in the morning, like, what you doing? Mm, mm. It's a
Right.
little weird. Little weird. But,
The telltale signs are there. As people, we just need to be more hyper focused on distinguishing, having discernment for sure. And, if you've ever been on either side of this, make sure to let us know in the comments. How do you feel? Let us know, male or female, rejection, and what are some tips for how to get through the rejection.
it's not that serious. You don't even need to get through it. Like that, I'm gonna just let y'all know the answer right now. It's really not that serious. In the words of kitten, niggas get rejected every day, B. Like, move on with your life. Like, it is
Just live
literally not that.
live your life after. Like you said, there's 8 billion, or is it, yeah, eight
I think
billion
it's 8 billion
people.
people in the world. Yeah. I think it's
Right.
8 billion
So,
people in the
we
world.
haven't even met a fraction of that. And
Like, why are
life
you
is about
tripping?
exploring
There you go. Like, you getting hung up on this one person, you could be blocking your blessing.
that part. Putting all this energy and time into something that you're like, maybe no, just
I
just
ain't
move
never
on.
second guess about nobody that said no to me. I can't even recall a name.
And I think also men, they hear that women like the yearning and like the persuading, and they take it too far. It's like, yeah, if
They
she's
take it too
showing.
far, but also women have to, let me not say women. Some women have to stop with the whole like nonchalant shit as well. Of like,
Mm,
because you'll have some women who are interested, but it's like, oh, let me play hard to get. Let me play like I'm not interested so that they keep, it's like, it's like a ball of yarn and that you just
mm,
keep pulling it away from the cat. Like, bro, ain't nobody got time for that shit.
right.
Like, I'm not saying like, express all your love to said person. But if
Hmm.
you are interested in said person and the person has made it clear they're interested in you, then actually showcase that in some sort of way.
Right.
So it's like they feel some level of validation. Because if roles, I hate playing roles reverse, but if
Hmm.
roles were reversed, women would hate that shit of like, I put, my olive branch out there and you didn't respect it. So it's like, there's people gotta be better. People gotta be better because
Yeah.
I don't like the nonchalant shit either. Like that's
I don't
just
like nonchalant
counterproductive.
either. I don't want to have to pretend like I'm not like excited to talk to you, or that I don't want to see you again, or that I had a really good time. Like, that's so
Yeah,
lame
like the
to me.
stupid we go out and it's like, oh, yeah, I gotta wait like 2, 3 days before I text them back. Like, if
Yeah.
we go out, first of all, I'm texting you to make sure you got back home if I didn't drop you off myself or if I didn't put you in an
Mhm.
Uber or whatever the case may be. So I'm probably talking to you that same night. And even if I do speak to you that same night and you're like, all right, I'm tired, I'm going to sleep. The first thing I'm doing is texting you in the morning. Like, what are we doing? Like, what
Yeah.
I don't get
It's the, like,
all
reverse psychology of trying to be, like, stoic and, "Oh, I'm so cool because, I'm single and I."
I will end it with this. The very popular phrase is you play the games, you get stupid
You win stupid
prizes.
prizes.
Like,
Yeah.
I have that time for that.
I like that. I like that, and we're gonna sign it off there. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Bye bye.